Welcome to our second broadcast of Shangri-La Life, a production geared just for our employees to keep you informed and involved in the daily activities and the future planning of the Shangri-La Corporation. We're going to talk today most of all about the legislature and how the budget process is working at Shangri-La. I'll be sharing with you the criteria that the leadership is using in order to make decisions that we must make in order to continue our programs, but also giving you some updates on some great news. First, I'd like to thank those of you who watched. We've had over 90 viewers, and that is about 90 more than I thought would view this, so I'm really grateful that people are paying attention. We've also gotten feedback about how we can make the program better, and we are listening to you, and you'll hear our responses to that as we go through the process. Unfortunately, the legislature is still producing or not producing. I guess we could look at that in a positive way, because when there isn't a no, there's always the possibility of a yes. However, we have no reason to believe that at this point we'll be seeing very much more improvement to any of our budgets. A quick run through to remind you, though, we did get 90% of our ATE program restored, and that was due largely to the work of you and many others across the state. We don't expect to have any cuts in our residential training homes, so that's also good news. We have not received a contract yet for our Connections program. The EARN contract is not signed yet, but we are certain that the EARN program will be moving out of Reed Road to a location in the north area of town. This has been a significant cut, the most significant cut in the organization. Margie and her team and the leadership are working hard to figure out how to maintain as much service as we can with the severe cuts that we will be experiencing. We'll keep you updated on that, and once those decisions are made, and once we've figured out what the plan will look like, Margie will give a presentation and help you see how EARN is going to continue to fit into the organization. For those of you who are not familiar with EARN, that means Employment Resources Northwest. It's a program that's been with us for many, many years, serving thousands and thousands of people who are working to return to the workforce. It stands for Employment Resources Northwest. Our DD programs, developmental disability housing programs, continue to face the cuts that have been already published, as do the rest of the DD employment programs. There is a function or a tradition in Oregon called the Christmas tree. At the end of the legislature, there's an amount of money that's attached to a Christmas tree, figuratively speaking, and different legislators negotiate and horse trade for special programs. And so there's always a hope that a little bit more money will come in to a program. Shangri-La and the Oregon Rehab Association have asked for another $4 million to be added to the DD housing program budget. Whether or not that will happen, I can't tell you. I can tell you that Senate President Peter Courtney is very concerned about us and trying hard, as are many other senators and representatives, but there are many problems for all of them to look at and solve. Let me make sure I didn't leave out any of our important programs, but I think that's, generally speaking, the summary. I think it's important for you to understand that as the leadership team and the directors and the board go about making these very difficult decisions, that you understand that we have criteria that we use and ways that we look at it. It's not just sort of a inspirational or first in, first out kind of feeling, but we're trying really hard to look at, first of all, where we believe the organization is going to be going over the next 5 years, and what's going to be happening with the economy, and what kinds of services and supports are going to be needed in our state, and how Shangri-La can respond to those. We've established some criteria, guidelines that we've prioritized that we're using right now to develop financial planning decisions. These would not be overarching, but they're the ways that we together are looking at making a decision about whether something stays or goes, should we be faced with cutting something. Of course, we're going to have to make reductions, and so we want you to know that we are looking at everything we can before we look at cutting staff. Inevitably, we will lose positions in this process. We hope to create plans that will help us grow the program so that we will recreate jobs should we lose them. But here are the priorities, one by one, that we're using as we go through this process. The first priority is that the decisions we make will move us forward or hold us steady. In other words, we don't want to have policies or practices that will diminish our ability to respond to an opportunity, or that will in some way harm our opportunities to be included in growth or planning. We will make our decisions based on values, not perception, and those values will be agreed upon by the leadership and will not be values that would surprise you. Different values may apply to different kinds of decisions, and the leadership will make sure that they're consistent in that approach. We want to remain competitive and cutting edge, or be moving in that direction. So given a choice between two decisions, we would make the decision that would move us forward. That might seem like an obvious thing, but maybe one decision might save us a little bit more money in the short haul, but in the long term, it might contribute to us being able to do something that would generate revenue, jobs, resources, services of some sort in the future. Necessity versus luxury. As I look back over the last 23 years, I don't remember ever feeling like we lived in the lap of luxury. But there are things that we do perhaps that we don't have to do, and that do give us pleasure, but aren't necessities. And we're trying to take a close look at those things, and many of you helped us identify those things when you sent us the bright ideas list, and some of those bright ideas are already being incorporated into our planning, and I'll address a few of those in a bit. We want and insist that we understand the scope of our decisions. We've all heard the term unintended consequence. We've heard about how somebody made it what looked like a good decision in the moment, but gee, 6 months later it wasn't. And so we've formed groups, charter groups, to look deeply into the impact of what decisions, decisions can result in, and how they may or may not contribute to morale or our ability to participate in certain kinds of groups or to generate revenue in certain sorts of ways. So these are not yes-no decisions, but these are very carefully, I would have to say they're thought through with heart and mind both, and then again, consistently using these priorities. Finally, the least negative impact on staff, and that is listed last here because we're talking about financial priorities, and certainly doesn't imply that our staff are our least important priority, and I want to make that clear in case it comes through that way. We are very concerned about consumer satisfaction, staff satisfaction, and our relationship with the community. You all have heard by now that our effort is going to be deepening our relationship across the state in our counties, the 9 counties that we're in creating stronger and stronger relationships with people, and that's all part of how we intend to make decisions. As we make decisions, we don't want to be offending or upsetting our neighbors at the same time by not mowing our lawn as often, for example. That might not be worth the $30 or $40 it saves us. So we wanted you to know that those are the kinds of thoughts that are going into making decisions. Some of the decisions, that bright idea decisions that are already under implementation. Thanks for the lights off, guys. First of all, I have to confess, I found one of our very most dedicated staff working in the dark, and we just meant turn off the lights when you're not using them. So thank you to that person whose name shall remain anonymous. Meals were suggested as one of the areas that we spend a lot of money, meetings, and that should be looked at. There was a charter formed, and right now there's a recommendation that we would cut the amount of that that particular expenditure, probably at least in half. These, again, are charters that we're looking at. They aren't final decisions, but it's one of the things that you brought up in your bright ideas, and we want you to know that the team is paying close attention to that. I'd also like to thank those of you who've been participating in the charters and helping, and to forewarn you that there are more charters ahead and more work to do in those areas. Someone suggested that we needed to have a Facebook page, and we do, lo and behold. And I think you'll be able to see information about how to access that probably at the bottom of this page right now. UltraPro has the potential for electronic timekeeping. That's our new system that's managing our payroll and our personnel, and that again was one of the suggestions that several people made about ways that we might be able to save money. I don't know enough about exactly how that will work, but I know that once the system is up and running, that the IT and HR and our business office intend to be looking closely at how we can use those systems to help. So again, thank you to whoever sent that idea in, and please know that you're being paid attention to. Also, I ask you to send me questions, and someone did send a question in regarding time and a half and overtime and just how that works at Shangri-La. And so we are looking into that to see just how consistent we are, because we do want to be consistent in how we handle our policies and procedures. And it's a lengthy subject, and so once we finish looking into that, I'll be asking one of the directors probably to give a short overview on what the first of all what the policy is and how it's to be enacted, and how those decisions get made. Like any personnel policy, there are going to be some times when we can't be perfectly consistent and do our jobs. So there has to be a way for people to make some decision within a policy, and we want to be clear with you about what that would be. Finally, oh no, there are two more finallys. Congratulations, we have filled out almost 300 of Oregon's 100 best nonprofits to work. That's the highest number ever. At times when things are bleak and gloomy, we really appreciate people taking the time to do that, and are looking forward to moving right up the line to getting closer to the very top. Some of those items that were identified last year are items that we're looking at in our planning, and those things will be rolled out as we find out what we're able to do and what we're not. Having multimedia, I think, is one of the issues that was suggested, and obviously you're experiencing that at this very moment. The last great news is that the volcano tickets have been drawn, and you can find out if you're one of the lucky winners by going to the website listed at the bottom of the page. So we hope that those of you who get those tickets just have a whole bunch of fun, eat a lot of popcorn, and think about Shangri-La while you're watching all those home runs get hit. With that, I think I can close this, letting you know that as soon as we know what the legislature has decided about the budget, we know that's most prevalent on people's minds, we'll be communicating with you, and we'll be communicating with you on a very regular basis over the next at least 18 months about how we're doing with our financial goals, how you're doing, getting your feedback so that we can approach this as a family like we always have and prevail, continue to deliver the excellent services that we deliver, and still survive the financial hits that we most assuredly will take. So again, if you have things that you'd like to talk to me about or would like someone else to talk about, send in your questions or your thoughts to the links on the bottom of the page. And this is me signing off again. Thank you.